Hello, Film Flash Recaps here. Grab the popcorn and sit comfortably. Today I will talk about a movie in view of the real-life story of the most youthful hero of the Second Great War called Soldier Boy. The film starts in Russia, where a group of three sit by the waterway partaking in their time. The most youthful of them, Sergei Ilyaskov, gloats to his senior sibling and mother about him being on top of a tree, when out of nowhere German contender jets soar over. The mother asks her children to rapidly conceal in the brambles, yet the 6-year-old cases he isn't frightened and hits the fly with a slingshot. Incredibly, he figures out how to stir things up around town and detonate them, yet when he glances around, his family is no more. Sergei awakens, terrified from the fantasy, and requires his mom. All of a sudden, somebody thumps on his entryway. Expecting it is his mom, he runs towards it, however a neighbor lady comes in overreacting. She says thanks to God for keeping him alive and illuminates him that his mom and sibling are dead. The young man does not understand what she is talking about and has to stay in the house to look after his mother. The lady informs him that the Germans are after them and that he should run away from home. Suddenly, some fighters approach their house. The lady helps Sergei to run out of the window and tells him to run as far as he can. The child runs alone through the forest, hiding from danger. Behind him, explosions are seen and gunshots are heard. He is devastated and is looking for a place to hide in the forest. The little boy starts asking his mother to come and get him because he is lost. That night he remains in the wilderness. He drinks water from the river and sees the German soldiers approaching, so he quickly hides among the roots of the trees. He is startled when a snake approaches, but does not utter a word or come out of hiding. He is clearly more terrified of the fighters than the snake. The fighters eat near the waterway and disappear. After which Sergei takes the leftovers and eats them. In any case, before the day is over, the young man is exhausted. He hasn't had a legitimate dinner in 2 days and has been walking around aimlessly. He collapses as he limps, but he doesn't give up. On the way, he sees wild berries and swallows them. However, suddenly an explosion happens behind him, shocking him. The child becomes dizzy and begins to fantasize about someone coming up behind him. In any case, even under such circumstances, he is brave and tells the individual that he has a rifle and is not terrified. He limps forward but falls oblivious sooner or later. While he is sleeping, 2 officers approach him. The scene cuts to the base of the Russian armed forces, where Officer Kuznetsov hangs tight for his watch fighters. The Russian soldiers take the child, who is injured and weak, and take him to the shelter. Once the troops vouch that they are his ally, the young man opens up and introduces himself. The warriors chuckle as the young man shakes hands with the officer, offering to familiarize himself with the fighters, feel warm with a young man's touch and surround him. They keep him hydrated and nourished. Medical attendant Katya pleads with the authority to let the child stay with the contingent, but he demurs, stating that he will not be protected. They have to send Sergei to the orphanage. The warriors invest all their free energy with Sergei. It is visited by a lot of people throughout the day. They bring him food sent by their distant families and surprisingly let him play with their weapons. At one point, a warrior goes to the officer to ask him to let the child stay with them. The fighters have developed a close association with the young man and consider him their own. His presence takes their minds off the weight of the fight. Regardless, the leader is adamant about sending the child to the orphanage for his own safety. The next day, the enemies attack and many fighters are injured. A vehicle comes to fetch Sergei to take him to shelter. The leader informs the young man and gives him a gift of a weapon made of wood. The kid thus embraces him, stating that he fears for the leader's safety. The leader softens in his embrace and adjusts his perspective. He demands that Sergei stay with the officers as his child. That evening, the military look for petty officer clothes for the young man. They are elated that Sergei is staying with them. The officer wakes Sergei up and gives him his clothes. He wears them and walks around looking like a real soldier. The others start calling him their officer. As the young man spins, the Germans launch an air assault on the Legion. The officers quickly take Sergei to a protected place and fight them. The number of harmed fighters develops quickly. Sergei needs to make himself valuable, so he carries water to parched fighters. One of them requests that he read a letter sent by his family since he has a gauze over his eyes. The young man needs to help yet doesn't have the foggiest idea how to peruse. He takes the letter and fires making up the things composed on it, asserting that the officer's cow is protected back home. When the soldier says he doesn't have a cow, the others urge him to improvise further and laugh. He reads the others' letters in the same way and elicits laughter. Next, we see Katya and the commander talking. They show attraction to each other, but do not confess their feelings. Later, Sergei tells the commander that he is on guard duty in the battalion and begins to introduce himself as one. However, the boy then sees one of the interned soldiers, wounded in the attack. The commander helps him to salute, offer appreciation to the dead trooper. The following day, he demands the commandant give him a mission and is given an errand to disseminate the letters among the warriors. He follows through with his job proficiently and even makes the troopers dance for him. The next day, Sergei goes somewhat distant from the base with his optics. As he is playing with it, he sees somebody's leg moving from inside a sheath. He surges back to the brigade and educates the officers regarding his discoveries. The soldiers have their doubts, but you go with the boy anyway. When they reach the hay wagon, they are surprised to see 2 German spies hiding underneath. The spies are immediately caught and the child is praised for his skill. Later that night, the commander shows Sergei the legal papers for his adoption. Now he has officially become the father of the child. Sergei knows about the commander's feelings for Katya, so to repay his kindness, he takes him to confess to him. But the two see her talking to another man and wrongly assume she's in love with someone else. Their base is again violently attacked by the Germans. This time, Sergei energetically assists the officers by supplying ammunition to the fighters at the front. In any case, the fighters there order him back to the shed because it's too dangerous outside. When he arrives at the shelter, he sees the commandant and other officers worried that they have lost the possibility of telephone communication with the colonel. A soldier is sent to repair the damaged wires. Sergei follows the fighter and sees that he has been seriously injured. He asks the soldier how he can fix the wires, and he does it without anyone else's help. He restores the phone connection and more soldiers are called. Later we see the commander and Katya talking by the river. The commander finally admits his affection for herself and demands that she be Sergei's mother. Katya is elated, but before she can say anything, a fighter approaches them and hands the leader a letter saying they were sent from the base. The next day, each of the warriors leaves for their new base with Sergei. In any case, on the way they come across a minefield that goes over a portion of their vehicles. The commander is injured while the organized gathering, which Sergei was close to, bites the dust from the explosion. She cries and hugs him. They carry the wounded with them and continue their march to their new base. When they finally reach the other base, they meet the general, who is also amazed by the child's desire and greets him like a true officer. The next day, their division is awarded a Medal of Honor, as is the kid. He promises to save his nation when the general gives him his group. One evening, their base is severely destroyed and the officer is trapped under the wreckage. Sergei cries loudly for his father and tries to save him. He summons various warriors, who eventually take out the commander. The next day, Sergei approaches an injured officer. His hands were injured while trying to save the commander. The youngster is currently an important part of the group. They don't have a family near them and they move to any place they go to in conflict. He is now known as the youngest fighter in the world, and the incredible story of his bravery is now being spread for the whole world to hear. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like as a token of appreciation. Don't forget to ring the bell to stay updated with our latest videos, and we would be deeply honored if you subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us.